Hi, I'm Chelsea from Binge Eating Breakthrough. And one of the things that I've discovered in my process of overcoming my binge eating is to start to really look at where I'm uncomfortable and to see what comes up when I'm uncomfortable, whether it's fear, anxiety, sadness, loneliness, whatever it is. It's the moments of discomfort or being uncomfortable that really hold the key to kind of figuring out what's going on and why you have a compulsion to eat, right? So I noticed, so first of all, in my book, Binge Eating Breakthrough, I talk about noticing the urges whenever you have a craving for something, like noticing your urges and just letting your urges come and be there. And rather than reacting to the urges, in my book, I talk about like kind of being able to distinguish the urge from the reaction and being able to kind of watch the urge move through and let it pass through without just responding to it and going and shoveling food in your mouth, right? And so on that path of looking at the urge and noticing it rather than just reacting to it, I got deeper into looking at the discomfort around urges, right? So having an urge or a craving is like a compulsion to eat some sugar, or oh my god, I gotta have that ice cream, or I want that chocolate cake, or oh my god, I've just been craving a cookie, I haven't had one for 3 weeks and I just really want some sugar, and then you go nuts or whatever. Like there's a discomfort in that craving or that urgency to have this food, right? And it's just like any other compulsion, whether it's alcohol, food, shopping, sex, whatever it is, it's that compulsion or that urge to have it, to do what? To pacify maybe a feeling or an emotion of some sort in some cases, right? Now, of course, at first it might be that, and then over time, the more you react that way, you build a habit. So then there might not really be anything that you're trying to pacify. You're just in a habit at that point, right? But if we dial it back to where the habit was formed, really starting to feel what that discomfort is for you. Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it loneliness? Like what's there if you let the urge or the craving sit there and don't respond to it? What comes up is like the next emotion that flows out of that. Like what do you feel? Do you feel a desperation? Do you feel an anxiousness that you're not going to get what you want? Do you feel like you never get what you want? What thoughts and emotions come when you don't respond to the craving or the urge and you just let it come and feel what you feel? Now, for myself, it tends to be about the same sort of emotion. I feel like if I have an urge or a craving, it's like it's a kind of a desperation or like a feeling of like I just want a little pleasure, I just want a little something, just a little treat or something. And then, but if I go deeper into that, it's like a feeling of I want to treat myself because I feel like I deserve it, and then maybe if I go deeper, it's because maybe I feel like I'm not deserving, or I feel like I want to give myself something to prove that like I'm worth giving to or something. There's like something that gets deeper and deeper every time I explore that. And so there's an interesting sort of relationship with being uncomfortable that develops when you start to really look at it. And it's not a comfortable exercise to look at your discomfort, right? Of course, obviously. But the discomfort is where the growth is, right? So if you can feel your discomfort and feel what the discomfort is for you, whether it's loneliness, anxiety, sadness, anger, a feeling of just low self-worth, like whatever it is that comes up in that discomfort, there's something interesting to see there and to see like, well, what is it that's creating this? Like noticing the thoughts in your head when you're having these urges. What are those thoughts telling you? Like what is I sometimes call it like my inner dragon. Like what's that dragon or your ego or your animal voice or whatever it is you want to call it? Like what's it telling you and what's it coming from? What's it based in? Is it based in fear, anxiety? Where is it coming from? And if you kind of explore that, there's something interesting to kind of follow that rabbit hole back to see what's really coming from that. For myself, I started to look at like the feelings of, like I said, giving myself something to show that I'm worth something, to give myself a treat, something that I deserved. And behind that was a layer of feeling like, of course, I didn't deserve it, and that I didn't, deserve to have any pleasure in my life. And so then behind that is like, well, why don't I deserve to have pleasure in my life? Is it because I'm not good enough? Like, what's behind that? And then am I not good enough because, is that tied into my looking good? Like, do I want to look good because I feel like I'm not good enough? So if I look good, maybe I'll be good enough like the other people I'm comparing myself to. And, you kind of start to see all these different influences that are affecting behavior and affecting your drive and affecting your compulsion. So it's interesting to get into this, and while it might seem like a bunch of psychobabble or a bunch of woo-woo, that's where I've really started to be able to unravel my compulsion and my behaviors, is to start to see what was driving it. And when I can see what's driving it, then I can start to respond to the driver, not to the actual compulsion itself. And when I'm responding to my driver, I'm in a much more balanced, sort of objective space where I can be like, oh, got it. So this is what's driving. I have a fear that I'm not good enough. I have a fear that I'm not as, I can't compare to the people that I look up to. I'm not as beautiful, or I'm not as whatever, controlled, or maybe I'm not as wealthy, or whatever the feeling is that I'm comparing to. Like, I have this not good enough thing, and that not good enough is making me feel like I really want to give myself a reward, so I go eat something. So it's like you start to see all these influences, and there's a sort of matrix of influences on our behavior at any given time. But when you can start to see those influences, then you can start to be able to deal with them and get through them and let them kind of work their way through and move on, rather than just staying stuck and continuing to drive your compulsions. So, don't know if this made much sense at all, if this is relevant to you in any way, but the discomfort and the ability to grow through your discomfort could be a very important component of overcoming the compulsion to binge eat, or to any compulsive behavior that you might have. So I invite you to look at your discomfort and look at why you're discomfortable. What's behind the discomfort? And is there something that you can start to see about yourself and your compulsions that are maybe a pattern that form around what's discomforting or what's uncomfortable for you? And where is that coming from? And the more you can start to see that, the more you then can work with it. Because if you can't see it, you can't work with it. It just continues to run your life. For more resources or any other sort of articles and a free video course about binge eating and overcoming your compulsions or eating habits that aren't making you happy, visit bingeeatingbreakthrough.com. Thank you.